buddy of mine who used to work. I don't know if he's still at the bomb factory or not, but he's a guy who's done a lot of work for local music venues and promotions. And Gavin, you know Gavin if you know like Deep Ellum. Well, I guess he used to work for
Gavin Dawson?
no.
Gavin Newsom?
He is not of the G-Bag Nation. I guess he used to do some work for Mark, and he got into a bit of a Facebook argument the other night because he posted on Friday night, Cuban should be run out of Dallas. And Gavin has a pretty big following. And somehow Cuban saw this. Now, you guys might not know this, but when Cuban sold the team, everyone who worked for the Mavs, and I'm not sure how far back this went, got a pretty substantial lump sum payment, including a good friend of ours. I don't know the number. I actually didn't ask, but it was not nothing, and it was everyone. So Gavin posts that, and Cuban says, "Hey, Gavin." And
Wait, posted
him.
what?
Cuban should be run out of Dallas.
Okay.
Cuban replies, "Hey, Gavin," and like does Facebook's version of at him. "How much of a bonus did you get when I sold?" And Gavin said, "Not enough to make up for the Luka trade. I'd give your dirty money back for Luka to be here. How about you?" Cuban says, "You didn't say a word when it showed up in your account. Sure looked good when we made it to the finals, didn't it? I did every damn thing I could for 23 years, kept prices lower, had $2 tickets. I made money 2 out of 23 years I was the owner, and you kept on collecting your salary while I lost hundreds of millions of dollars. So my dirty dollars didn't get a peep out of you those 23 years, or when you got your check, or when you got your bonus. Go back to what I said when I sold the team. I didn't want my kids or family to have to deal with people like you. I got tired of the growing number of fans who became pricks on social media, people like you. I paid your salary. I paid a bonus when I didn't have to. The Nico and the new owners do something none of us liked, and you decided to try to fuck with me. Thank you for confirming I made the right decision."
Damn.
Gavin, if money was my goal, I'd never have taken a pay cut like I did to work at the Mavs. Everyone warns you of how underpaid you'll be there. Your staff warns people. You don't get to dodge blame for selling it to the people you did. You hired Nico. Did you lie when you said you were going to maintain basketball ops? Your PR tour is not going to change the people in Dallas see you at fault. And then Cuban responded, "I expected to run basketball. The NBA wouldn't let me put it in a contract. I thought they'd stick to their word. Someone changed their mind, but that's in the past." And then he went on life's too short to deal with people like you. It used to be fun, engaging with fans, but now you all suck. And he also blames the fan base for this. He says,
Cuban saying that? Okay.
"We shared in the good and the bad. There was always some level of optimism, even after disappointment. Then the whole get Luka some help nonsense started. Nonstop online. Then it seemed like it turned into more fun for people to complain than to enjoy the Mavs or the NBA. Between dealing with the NBA and the idiocy of fans like you, it wasn't worth the nonstop shit. I left $40 million on the table so I could reward the people who work for the Mavs. Never thought I'd get shit for it." It's a lot.
Okay, I got a lot. So, number one, lost hundreds of millions of dollars. It's a convenient thing, and it's like technically true when people say that, but they also own an NBA franchise. So the value of that is constantly going up, and we saw that. Like, he bought it for $250 million, correct? Which at the time people said that's ridiculous. He way overpaid for that. Well, then he ended up selling it for, was it over $4 billion?
Yeah, 70.
Obviously, yeah, he ended up with $3 billion, and he still owns 26%. So yeah, he turned $250 million into $3 billion, and he still has another $1 billion in the team. So he didn't lose money.
Right. His living conditions were not affected.
If he lost $100 million a year, even, right, then he's made money.
Yeah.
And I think you would wonder if he ever lost $100 million in a year. I don't know.
Right.
But the underpaid thing, I took less to work at the Mavs. That's the way these things go. That's something that you would be surprised about, or at least young Dan was when he became old Dan. and got into the world. Like, that happens with the Cowboys. It happened with the ticket, the radio station. It's, hey, you want to work for this cool place. You think this place is number one. And I don't know, maybe the Yankees are like this too. But I've heard this with the Cowboys. And because they pay so much salaries, you're like, oh my gosh. Well, they don't do that with everybody. They do it with, in fact, they do it with who they have to. So don't act like they pay Aaron Judge that money because they're fired up about Aaron Judge. It took many years, court cases, all that kind of stuff to get them to actually pay his worth. I'm not saying that a secretary for the Yankees is better than a secretary for a business, a regular business, but I am saying you go in thinking, man, they are I'm going to make more here because it's the Yankees, and I know that they make billions of dollars. You're not going to. In fact, you might also make less because you get to tell people you work for the Yankees. But that would happen ticket, not necessarily with the hosts, but it would like with let's say Blake, the producer or the board op or something. You're probably not going to make even as much as you might make over at the Fan. But it's cooler to work at the ticket.
Yes, that's one issue you pointed out for sure. And I mean, I don't think Gavin is saying.
But the same thing with the Mavs, yeah. I would think people are, hey, it's cool to work for the Mavs. Wouldn't you rather sell for the Mavs than selling doors? Yeah, and I don't know that I really love Cuban's deal here of like, oh, I didn't get a peep out of you for those 23 years or when you got your check or when you got your bonus, because I always feel like when people say stuff like that, it implies that if they took issue with it and turned down the payment, somehow it would have mattered. Okay, so yeah, what you're saying, if I would have said no to the bonus, then you wouldn't have traded Luka, or I would be allowed to say it now? Right. So, but I have 4 things, and 3 of them are kind of against what Cuban's saying, but one is that I really like. The last part is also that's the third thing that fans complain. Come on. Yeah. All that is we have quicker access to what everybody's thinking all the time now. Fans were always the same. It used to be, you would only get it through sports talk radio callers, perhaps, and the hosts. I mean, I don't know how you can't, if you're not an NBA executive, not just go to the game. Go to a game, a big game, like a playoff game that Luke is playing in, and tell me that fans aren't like really on board with the team. Yeah. Who cares if after they get in the car after 5 beers and their elite rides are like, get Luka out, fuck this guy. They're giving you money. Yeah, he knows. I hope so. I think Cuban knows. I always felt like he was a true fan. Yeah. He was a true fan. But then the part that's really interesting, I think the whole meat of this thing is the thing he said that they actually had it in the contract that he would run basketball operations, and the NBA disallowed that. Yeah. I would like that expanded upon. Yeah, he says the NBA wouldn't let me put it in the contract. They took it out just like they won't let the Celtics put it in. I'm not sure if that has to do with the current Celtics sale or what. I thought they would stick to their word because they didn't know the first thing about running a team. Someone obviously changed their mind, but that's in the past. Nico. Of course. And that's honestly, I think this whole thing is complicated and frustrating because he still owns part of the team. Because I go through these mental exercises of like, what could get me back into the Mavs? Well, obviously selling the team would be a big part of it. But I feel like Cuban owning that 27%, I know it is a lot of money, but I think a lot of people would actually feel better if he gave an FU and was like, I actually don't want to be a part of this, and then actively started criticizing them. And actively started just being like the leader of like, maybe he has to fall on the sword a little bit and say, I didn't think Nico was going to do this. I didn't think it was going to work out this way. I hate that it turned out this way, and I want nothing to do with them anymore. Because now he's doing this half deal of someone changed their mind. Like, dude, we know who you're talking about. Just say it. Yeah, he's probably got, though, we don't know other business dealings where he has his money mingling with theirs. And no doubt. Maybe he's also a part of the future casino, perhaps. And we don't know that yet. That could be, in a contract that the NBA couldn't disallow. But that's a very interesting part of this to me, though. Because remember when they first were sold, and we heard it on the Hoop Collective. Man, I should ask McMahon about this because they talked about it. I believe just the control share that exists. That is it Joe Lacob?
Yeah.
Is that who's
Warriors
the
owner?
Warriors
Yeah.
owner? That he actually sold his majority, yet still retains the control share, which is more than just saying I run basketball operations. It's controlling just about everything, I suppose. But yeah,
I don't know. I don't know what this looks like for Mark a year from now. I mean, he's trying to do this whole "you guys ruined it for me. It's your fault. Actually, this all sucks now because of you." And I think that's really weird because I almost feel like Luka dying is like your kid dying. And let me explain that. Like if you had a friend and their small child died, I feel like it would be you would have a tough time judging any way they reacted to that because it's such like a black swan event that if you're like, this guy's being weird, it seems like he's drinking a lot now, or maybe he's using drugs, or he's like just randomly goes missing for a few days. Like, what's his deal? It's like, well, I think he's going through something none of us really predicted or know how to react to here. So Cuban being like, this sucks. Everybody's being mean to me about Luka and not making it fun. It's like, you're going to have to give people, as Kyrie said, a little grace here. And the last week, or at least whenever it was recorded, last week the Segura interviews released where you're like, my bank account's fine. Like, dude, people are going to be pissed. He also made a lot of money by tapping into people's emotions and understanding what fandom was. So to now all of a sudden be like, I don't like the way this is feeling, I think that doesn't pass muster with me.